Have you ever tried growing herbs in the windowsill of your kitchen? So have we. But I'm here to tell you, you should stop it, because that's a complete waste of time when there's things like this that make it so much easier. We recently got this AeroGarden in-home gardening system, and it allows you to grow fresh herbs and vegetables year-round indoors. So let's go over how to set it up, and we'll see what this thing is all about. You can see here it grows plants in water, no soil, no mess, energy efficient LED grow lights, soil free, and it automatically turns the lights on and off for you, and it also reminds you when to add water and plant food. As I show here, it sprouts in days, you can harvest in weeks, and enjoy those harvests for months. So let's get into it. I'm going to open it up here, see what's inside. Oh, looks like we've got a sheet with a couple of recipes, a pesto, and a tomato cucumber salad with mint. All right. But this is what we're after. We're after the quick setup guide to show us how we need to set up this thing. So the one we have is the Harvest. The model number is 100690-BLK. It only comes in black, white, and two other colors that I'm not sure what they are. But we have the black version of this Harvest model. If we open this up, it has the setup steps and some helpful gardening tips. You can pause and read this if you'd like. Just some gardening tips on how to plant, what kind of plant food, the watering and the lights, some information on the warranty and safety instructions. But this is what we're after, the first page. So we'll fold that over, and here it goes through what's inside. We have the LED grow lights, the power cord, grow domes, the seed pods, and plant food. This gives you the temperature range that's ideal for the plants inside, the minimum and maximum height required, and it looks like this can fit in between 4 inches up to 12 inches. So it's on the smaller side. We've got the seed pods that says keep the labels on them so you know what you're growing, and after it's sprouted, remove those domes, because if you don't, the extra moisture on those leaves can harbor some diseases and can cause rotting. So good idea to take that advice. All right, so let's get into it. Let's open up this box. I'll set those aside and let's see what's in here. All right, first off, we've got the seed pods. This box in particular comes with only herbs. Some of the other boxes have lettuce as well. And basically you can grow anything that, like a leafy green, tatsoi, bok choy, lettuce, arugula, any of the leafy greens, and probably any of the herbs as well. So this one just happens to come with gourmet herbs, and there's 6 pods in this kit. So we'll open that up. It's got the seed pod instructions, add water, drop in the seeds, add plant food, guaranteed to germinate. So this guaranteed to germinate, if your seeds do not germinate, get in touch with AeroGarden right here at AeroGarden.com. And if the seeds don't germinate, they will gladly send you a replacement for free. So you can see that guarantee right there. All right, set that aside. And inside the box, we've got the pods, which the pods are filled with sphagnum peat moss. It's like a spongy product there. And what that does is when you put the seed pod in the water, it wicks the moisture up to the top to where the seed is inside there. And this wicking effect basically ensures that the seed does not get too waterlogged. It allows air to flow in and around the seed and allows for better germination and better growing. So there's a dill pod, but we've got the 6 pods. These little domes should be 6 of those, so there's 6. And what happens is when you get it all filled in, you put this pod into the water and you put this cap on top, and what that does is it holds in the moisture so that the seeds stay moist and can germinate successfully. If you leave this off, there is a risk that the top will dry out, and if the seed is too close to the top, then that means the seed will also dry out. So we got to keep these covered up until you see visible sprouts coming through the top. And once they start putting out those leaves, we can take that off and the plant is strong enough to sustain without that added moisture. So we've got that. I'll put these back. And then we've got the liquid plant food. I'm not sure how long this lasts. I'm sure if you do a little math here, maybe you can figure out for yourself how long this 3-ounce jug will last. But you can also use it to fertilize your houseplants and outdoor gardens. I don't know how far this would go on an outdoor garden, but for this we're just going to use it for the AeroGarden. So we'll just put this back and set this aside. Okay. And then let's see what's on the inside. Set this box aside. Okay. All right, first off we have the power plug. And this is just a standard US plug. It plugs right into a standard outlet in your wall or on your wall. Pretty simple. That plugs into your wall. Doesn't require a ground. And then this is the adapter that plugs right into the back of your unit. Pretty simple. Alright, so looks like it's all well packed. Not a very big unit, but when it comes to herbs, you don't necessarily need a whole lot of herbs, so a little bit of that herb flavor will go a long way. So here we go. Let's see. I'll just find the opening. Carefully take this out. Okay, so there it is. Pretty simple. Here's your indicators on when you need to add plant food, add water, and you can manually turn the light on and off. And we'll get a closer look at those LEDs. Pretty standard. Some of them are pink and blue, I think. Again, a look at the model number. And here in the back is where the power plug is. Again, this plugs into your wall, and this just simply goes right there, and you're good to go. So I'm going to get the camera switched around, and we'll get this set up properly. Okay, now that you're in a better position, let's continue by removing the rest of this packaging tape. And let's see what's going on inside. See what we can see how this thing works. Since we're back here, I'll just go ahead and show you. This is the plug for the pump. Just plugs right in there, and that is the power cord. Here's a clip to control the light height. So you push that clip in and you can move the height up and down as required. As your plants grow, you'll have to raise the light, and it recommends to keep the light about 4 to 6 inches off of the top of your plants. Alright, so this is the lid that these pods go into. There's a little, oops, they just slide right in there. There's a lip here. I don't know what that lip is for. I suppose that's the water. Oh, I see. So if you look inside here, let's get that raised up. Inside here is the fill to here line. So you'll fill the water up to the top of this. And this is where the water pumps. There's a little spout here that plugs right into that. You can see it goes in together right there. So that water is pumped. It's pumped up through here into this lid, and then these little spouts is where the water comes out and will flow down your plant to make sure that it's always in contact with the water. So before, when I said that it will absorb from the bottom as a capillary action, that was incorrect. Although, when it is filled up, these will be touching the water, and the roots will mostly grow down into the water, and they'll self-regulate once this thing is germinated and sending roots out into the water container. But until that happens, this pump ensures that the water flows over this and maintains the proper moisture levels in order to get this thing to germinate. Okay, so we've got that there. Let's put it all back together. And you got to make sure everything's seated in securely so nothing shifts around. Make sure that pump is plugged back in. And I've already plugged the other end of this into the wall. So we'll get that plugged in here. And there you go. The lights are on. And it does say in the instructions, everything's automatic, but once you plug it in for the first time, that is when your light cycle begins. So I plugged this in, it's a little after 1 in the afternoon here. So that means the light will run for 15 hours and turn back on. It'll turn off after 15 hours, and then it will turn back on at this exact same time that I plugged it in just now for the very first time. Now, if you don't want this thing running at certain times of the day, you can go to the lights section here, and it gives you instructions on how to reset the lights. So if you want this thing to run during the day while the sun's out, so that it's not lighting up your house at nighttime, then you'll want to follow these instructions. It says you touch and hold the lights on and off button right here. Whoop, that's a touch sensor. I thought it was a button. All right, so you touch and hold that sensor at the time of day that you want it to start. So let's say you set this up in the evening like I just have, but you don't want the lights to run at night. You'd rather they start their 15-hour cycle in the morning. So let's say this is the next morning after you've set it up. You can go here and touch for 3 seconds and it will reset. Touch and hold for 3 seconds. Okay, see there it blinked. So let's say you did that at 8 in the morning or 6 in the morning tomorrow after you've set it up. Then it will redo that 15-hour cycle. So the 15 hours will run during the daytime when the sun's out. And this will also depend on where in your house you set this up. If you set it up in a living space like your kitchen or a dining area, or maybe even your living room, wherever you have space to set this up, if it's in a living space, you're probably not going to like how it's brightening up the room in the middle of the night. So I would suggest if it's in one of those locations, go ahead and reset this timer the next day, or just wait until the next day to plug it in. You can get everything else set up. You can put the water and the nutrients in and get these pods in here and just let it sit overnight with the lights off. That's not going to hurt the seeds at all. They're already dry, so if it's touching the water, it will start capillary action. Even without the pump, these sponges will absorb moisture, and by morning, the seeds will already be on their way to germinating. So in that case, I would get everything set up maybe the night before. That way you don't have to do it first thing in the morning. And then first thing in the morning, just come in and get this thing plugged in. So it'd sit like this overnight, unplugged, all set up, ready to go. And then first thing in the morning, just come along and get it plugged in. And that'll start your 15-hour cycle. No big deal. So that's what I would say on that. For us, I have ours set up in the basement. One, so that it's out of the way of our kids. I don't want the kids really messing with this because I'm going to keep my tripod set up, and I'm going to try to take some in-progress shots to show exactly how long it takes for each of these herbs to sprout, and then show some of the harvest that I can get along the way. So ours is in the basement. I'm not too worried about the hours the lights will be on. We'll see how it goes. I might reset it at a later date. All right, so we've got it plugged in. The lights are working. That's great. We can take a look here at the LEDs. So it looks like they're mostly white, and then there's some red and blue in there to give more of a full spectrum of light to better simulate what they would be seeing if they were outside. All right, so back to the instructions. We're here, we've got everything aligned. We've got the power cord and the pump plugged in. We're going to remove the water cover, and we're going to fill it with the plant food and the water. So here's a little handy water cover. And as you saw before, there's a fill to line. So I'm going to take my water and just carefully, if I can do it without spilling, fill this up to that fill to line. And you can see as I fill this up, I'll stop there. You can see I'm not quite to the top of the fill to line, and I'm not even to halfway mark. And what the instructions say, I don't know if you can see that here, but the instructions say that when it gets to the below halfway mark, the add water light will start to blink red. If you can see that there. It's kind of hard to see, but it is blinking red. So if the water level ever falls below the halfway mark, this will begin to blink to let you know that you need to add water. And it also says that you don't have to wait until that red light starts blinking to add more water. You can add water at any time, and it's actually better for the plants and the machine if you keep this thing topped off periodically. So maybe, I don't know how long it will take for this to get the low water notice, but I'd say check it once a day at first. And there you can see it turned blue, so it's no longer red. I got enough water. So I would check it once a day for the first week, and if it doesn't change much, maybe check it once a week just to periodically top off that water level. But this filled it almost to the top of the fill line, and this is I put 2 liters of water, 64 ounces. I don't know if you can see that. 2 quarts, 64 ounces. So about 64 ounces will fill this thing up. And then if you can see, the water is beginning to flow. Let's see if I can pick that up here. Can you see the water? It's flowing out of those little nozzles we talked about. Okay. Now let's add the plant food. And here on the back it says for the 6 and 7 pod models, we do 2 capfuls at the start, and then again every 2 weeks. So we'll get that open. All right, 2 capfuls. See if I can do this without spilling. There's 1. And 2. Okay. All right, so plant food is in, the water is in. The only thing left to do is to get these seed pods in. So as we said before, we need to make sure they're capped. They don't really click on, they just kind of sit there. But we've got Thai basil. I know that's not going to get very tall, so I'm going to put it right in the middle, just because I know it's not going to push up the light, and hopefully as the basil grows, it can grow out and still allow light for that Thai plant. All right, we have a mint. I know mint will also grow pretty long, and it will likely start to bend over. So we'll put that on the edge. What's next? Dill. So the dill, let's see what else there is. We've got basil, parsley, and thyme. All right, so the thyme, the thyme is what I was thinking I had earlier. The thyme I know will grow short. That goes there. The Thai basil, curly parsley, the dill. Okay, so I'm going to put the basil. This is Thai basil. I was misspoken earlier. I misspoke earlier. The Thai basil, I'm going to put that on the outside. The dill, I'll put on the inside. And then we've got the Genovese basil. I'm going to put that on the opposite corner of the Thai basil. And the curly parsley I will put here in the front. All right, so that's it. It's all set up. Make sure those stay on top. All right, so I've got it all set up. The lids are on to maintain moisture. And I'll get the light turned back on, the water cap back on, and I'm going to go ahead and drop down this light. Push the button and push it down. Don't necessarily need the light right away because the seeds don't need light to germinate. But there it is. Complete setup. So I'm going to keep the tripod here, and we can revisit this every day or in a couple days to see how long it takes for these to sprout. All right. Thanks for watching, and we'll check back when we see some more action.